Welcome to the overview of the overview. You see, we have an overview DVD that is about an hour and a half. This is going to be much less, and I'm going to give you an overview of the 10 building blocks of Chinuch. What does that mean? There are about, at present in the year 2020, about 12 schools who are following this religiously, so to speak. And these 10 building blocks are extremely comprehensive in the amount of areas that are covered relevant to building children's skills so that they can access text and become independent learners. So they can have what we call emunas chushis. They experience emunah in Hashem. So I'm going to go through some of these together, actually all of these together with you very briefly. So don't forget, this is an overview of the overview, so that you've got an idea of what you're looking at when you go through the website and try to make sense out of the otherwise isolated products, DVDs, materials. Okay, let's begin. My name is Rabbi Jonathan Rietti. I'm working in Chinuch actually for 35 years. Even though I might be better known in the arena of public speaking, that's actually always been TOEFL, like a secondary occupation. My main focus has been working with children. So in my 35 years of experience, I've developed a curriculum that is mostly hands-on and is child-centered in the sense that it is designed for the teacher to get training in how to do less teaching and facilitate more learning, so that children learn much more than they are actually being taught. That will never replace the actual need for a teacher, but as you will learn in the Hashkafa on Chinuch DVDs, there's an entire explanation completely based on Chazal and Psukim all over and Shulchan Aruch to essentially articulate that the most important component in V'shinantam levanecha, in teaching our children Torah, is actually not the teaching component, it's more the learning component. So that's all explained very clearly on the Hashkafa and Chinuch DVDs. I'm going to touch on now the 10 building blocks. Lashon HaTorah. Lashon HaTorah means that's building block number 1. Right now we're going in sequence, but as you hit number 4 onwards, it doesn't matter which ones you're doing in sequence. The first 3 are what I call foundational. Because language acquisition, Lashon Torah, means that if a child does not master language, and we're going to define that very specifically, then he cannot access text and master it and become an independent learner. That's the real goal, independent learning. So we've got 10 components. Each one of those 10 components is broken down. And for each one of these 10 building blocks, there are materials. There are knowledge maps. That means to say, almost like scope and sequence, it is point by point lesson plan for every single step, incrementally scaffolded so that it goes from simple to harder. And these materials and knowledge maps and assessments enable the teacher to have all the tools necessary to implement each one of these building blocks. Each one of these building blocks comes with DVD training videos. So Lashon HaTorah covers from 3 years old, Suras Oishis, the shapes of the letters, Nekudais, the actual vowels, and then blending. The blending of the letters and the vowels. Then it comes to reading accuracy and fluency, and then building vocabulary. We've selected the most frequently reappearing shirashim, 2-3 letter root words in Chumash Bereshis, so that the child has a huge advantage in being able to make sense out of the vast majority of the entire Chumash and the Nevi'im Rishonim because of this simple database of a mere 303 shirashim with all the 46 prefixes and suffixes. This is built upon the program of Rabbi Yehuda Winder, who is available for consultation, and you can click on his workbooks on this website and you'll get his information from there. And I thoroughly recommend that you follow his directives on that. This is a very comprehensive program for teaching the skills necessary to make sense out of the Chumash and it also includes DVDs for Chumash Be'iyun. That's a template of about 12 steps, very easy steps, deceptively simple, based on how do you help a child become an independent learner who can learn a pasuk Be'iyun. It's all described in detail on those 3 or 4 DVDs just on how to teach Chumash Be'iyun. So moving forward, next building block is Tariag mitzvahs. The third building block is the storyline. The reason why I've put these here two together, number 2 and 3, is actually they're twins in the following sense. Even though, of course, the Eraisa, the Torah itself, the Chumash, Chamishei Torah, the 5 books of Moses, has unlimited trillions and trillions of layers. However, if you wanted to describe the Torah in its most skeletal definition, I would say it contains 2 components. There's a storyline from the beginning of creation all the way till the death of Moshe Rabbeinu, of Moses, and from creation till the death of Moses is a span of 2,488 years, and that contains the entire storyline of the Chumash. Plotted throughout the storyline with no apparent pattern are 613 instructions, better known as mitzvahs or Tariag mitzvahs or commandments. So when a child would learn all Tariag mitzvahs and the storyline, that means to say we provide a memory system for the child to learn in a very structured, sequential way every single perek in the entire Chumash, and a memory system to remember the main points of information in every single perek. You now have approximately 200 files in your brain for all the prakim, all the chapters in Chumash, in the 5 books of Moses. And you've got 613 files for all the 613 mitzvahs of the Torah. You now have a filing system that when you've mastered the language, which is essentially reading accuracy, fluency, shroshim, prefixes, suffixes, you are now able to access the Chumash itself, and you have this filing system that as you're learning the details of the Chumash inside, with lots of review, your brain knows where to put all that information. So going with these 3 building blocks are many materials, the knowledge maps for all of them, and assessments as well. There's learning Rashi, made easy shmeezy. There's a whole DVD just on that with accompanying materials. Now, number 4, this is called contextual learning. This is huge because whenever I give this presentation of an overview of the 10 building blocks, almost inevitably the teachers or parents present say to me, OMG, we need this first, even before the skills. Now that's quite remarkable, and you're going to find out, I hope, in a few moments. Contextual learning is this icon here where you've got a square, and basically what it's saying is the following. By providing a child with a timeline of history, 6,000 years, from Brias HaOlam, creation of the universe, till Tchias HaMesim, resurrection of the dead, which according to our sages, Gemara and Sanhedrin, Tzadik Zayin, going on Tzadik Ches, is a 6,000-year timeline, starting from the day Adam Harishon, the first man, was created. He was created FFC, from creation. So Adam Harishon, from his moment of creation till Tchias HaMesim is a 6,000-year period, and we provide a timeline with 43 pictures that enables children in a matter of minutes to suddenly get this picture of a panoramic view of the beginning of time, end of time, and where am I? Oh my gosh, I'm right over here in the year 5,780, almost 81 at the time of this video, and the child has now learned 3 things in a matter of just minutes by using these cards, which are then permanently placed in the classroom, and the child knows, oh, here's the beginning of time, Bereshis, here's the end of time, Tchias HaMesim, and here I am, so close to the year 6,000. I'm in 5781. Oh, wow. Now what happens is that whatever the child learns throughout the entire Jewish calendar and throughout the child's learning experience in yeshiva and even outside has an immediate relevance to this timeline. The timeline kind of puts everything into context. That's why it's called contextual learning. And all of a sudden, literally, invisibly, the mind of the child starts to recognize, oh, right now I'm learning Parshas Noach. Oh, that's on the timeline. Oh, right now I'm learning about the life of Avraham Avinu. Oh, where is it on the timeline? Oh, right now I'm learning about Purim. Oh, that's on the timeline. Oh, Hanukkah, that's on the timeline. Oh, we'll learn about Tisha B'Av and the 3 weeks and the destruction of the first and second temples. Oh, that's on the timeline. Oh, we're quoting Rashi. Oh, he's on the timeline. Oh, we're learning about the Crusades. Oh, we're learning about Jewish history, Tsarist Russia, the Persian Empire, Babylonian Empire, Egyptian Empire. It's all on the timeline. What ends up happening is that every part of the child's Jewish experience throughout the calendar is somewhere on this timeline, that these 43 pictures combined give the child the big picture of everything. Oh, he's learning Gemara? It's on the timeline. Mishnayos? Oh, where's that written? Oh, it's on the timeline. The child, all of a sudden, literally, is able to make sense out of what might otherwise be isolated pieces of information. Children, close your Chumash, open up your math book. Close your math, open up your diktuk. Close your diktuk, open up your history book. And nothing seems to have anything to do with anything else. But in reality, by providing this timeline, you're actually giving context to everything, thus contextual learning. There are about 39 layers. I'm going to describe 3 or 4 very quickly. We have walk downs where this is hands-on chinuch, which means you've got materials and you've got props, you've got pictures, you've got satellite photos. I'm just going to give you an example of some of it so you can start to get a grasp of what you're looking at when you open up the timeline materials, the pictures and the manual. Each one of these, by the way, comes with a teacher manual. What you're going to see over here in contextual learning is you've got a set of satellite photos, mostly satellite photos, of places on planet Earth that have been there since Brias HaOlam, either since creation or since the item was actually built by man, and it's there from thousands of years ago. And it's described in the Torah or in Nach, and you can go there today and see it's still there. The Tigris River, Hidekel, oh my gosh, that's in chapter 2 of Bereshit, of Genesis. Oh, Frat, the Euphrates. Oh yeah, that's still there. Pishon, the Nile, River Nile, 4,168 miles long, it's still there. Actually, you make a bracha when you see these places. Baruch Oiseh Ma'aseh Bereshis, you're making a blessing with Hashem's name because these are places that are still there from Ma'aseh Bereshis, the creation of the universe. We're going to look at places like Hebron, Kever Rachel, so many different places, dozens and dozens of places on planet Earth, mostly in Eretz Yisrael and its surrounding countries, which used to be known as Mesopotamia, between the Euphrates and the Tigris rivers, today in the arena area of Iraq and Iran. These are places that are still there ad hayom, till today, and that's only one walk down history. We have many others of genealogy where the children will actually experience the overlap in Adam, who knew his great-great-great-great, 8 greats later, grandson Lemech, who knew his son Noach, who overlapped and knew Avram Avinu for 39 years, started with him for 39 years. Oh, so Avram Avinu was only separated from Adam Rishon by 2 generations. Avram Avinu overlapped with his son Yitzhak and 15 years with his grandson Yaakov Avinu. So this 4th finger over here represents all 3 of the forefathers. Yaakov Avinu goes down to Mitzrayim, teaches everything he knows that he heard from his father, who heard from his father, all the way back to Adam Rishon, the greatest event in world history of Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, and the Mabul, the flood. And Yaakov Avinu goes down and teaches to his son Levi and Kahas and Amram, who's the father of Moshe Rabbeinu. So in this walk down history, the children see that there's only 4 generations divided between Adam and Moshe Rabbeinu. And from Moshe Rabbeinu, you not only have unlimited, unbroken genealogy from Adam till Moshe Rabbeinu, you now have from Moshe Rabbeinu at the giving of the Torah at Sinai, the same tefillin, same tzitzit, same mezuzah, same Pesach, same matzah, same lulav, same sukkah, same kashrus, same Shabbos for 3,300 plus years since the original event of Ma'amad Har Sinai. I'm just giving you a glimpse of a glimpse of a glimpse, but this is all on the DVDs. The first DVD out of 7 that are in contextual learning is actually a live filmed and professionally filmed and edited version of the entire timeline with about 5 or 6 walk downs. I only described to you 2 or 3. There are many levels of this. It's a very powerful way for children to be injected with emunas chushis, an emunah, a sense of certainty that they experience through the timeline. We do prophecies. We look at prophecies. Each one has a card, 21 major prophecies of promises God made of what will happen in the future. And then we go down the history timeline up until today and count how many came through. How many did God come through on? How many did he promise and fulfilled? And the answer is out of 21, 18 came true. And the only 3 that haven't happened yet. Oh, that's why. But 18 out of 18, is that a good or perfect track record? So this is a very powerful way for children to realize, oh my gosh, the last 3, Kibbutz, Galias, Mashiach coming and building by Shlishi and Tchias HaMesim, do you think they might or definitely will happen? I've only now told you 4 out of many, many layers of the timeline that over the years, the children get it into their bloodstream. I'm a Jew. I know where I am on the timeline. I know where I come from. I have an unbroken history of Masorah, of transmission of the same information from the great event, the greatest event in world history, Ma'amad HaSinai, the giving of the Torah, national revelation at Mount Sinai, and I have unbroken genealogy going back to Adam Rishon. That's impressive. There's much more to say on that, but go and check out the overview. This is the overview of the overview. Number 5 is the integrated curriculum. Fascinating. How do you have, this is an icon of the same square over here, but you've got lots of small dots in the middle. Each one of those dots represents what otherwise would be called a secular subject. Very, very, very wrong word to use. Secular means without God. Secular means with no religious source. So that's a very dangerous term to use for English or math or science or physics or geography or history. So what we've done is essentially created out of the 6 days of creation, we've listed every single subject that you can ever imagine. Astronomy, oh, that's the 4th day. Landforms, oh, that will come out of the 3rd day. Oh, you want to learn about weather systems, that comes out of the 2nd day when Hashem split the waters. Oh, you want to learn about light, oh, that comes out of the 1st day. Oh, you want to learn about fish and birds and insects, oh, that's the 5th day. You want to learn about animals, oh, that's the 6th day. Oh, you want to learn about physical anatomy of the human body, oh, that's the 6th day when man was created. So we've taken the 6 days of creation and divided up every otherwise secular subject and shown how you can use the Torah as a platform for teaching these subjects so that children don't get confused in thinking that geography, history, math, science has nothing to do with God. Has v'shalom. The perfection of God's calculations in the universe, which we would otherwise call mathematics, is a language Hashem created for man to see God's perfection in his universe. The purpose of science is to observe Hashem's unlimited kindness in how he has put together every element in the universe, every power, be it wind, sunshine, rain, photosynthesis. Every single element in the Bria is playing a function that is a pure kindness on Hashem's part for us to benefit. Look at trees, provide shade, provide shelter, provide photosynthesis, oxygen, provide fruit, provide wood for you to sit on in the form of a chair, sit at in the form of a table. You have a wooden floor. Yeah. The Rebbeinu Shalom, the Master of the Universe, created the physical universe so that when we study it with that in mind, that God, you're talking to me through your Bria, then I can see you and sing out loud, Marabu Ma'asecha. How incredibly, abundantly good is everything you've done. Because Ma'ale ha'aretz, kinyanecha. Your signature, kinyan, when you own something, you have a simon to identify its owner. God's signature is saturated in every element of the entire creation, right down to the smallest atom. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu is really screaming out, I'm here for you to discover through my physical world. So we've taken what would otherwise be called secular subjects, general studies, and put it into a framework of the 6 days of creation, whereby we can teach children all these subjects, but from a Torah perspective, so they should not be confused into thinking there's Torah, Kodesh, Chol, Treif. And then if Has v'Shalom, a kid starts to really struggle in Kodesh, but really likes the math teacher or the science teacher, or really gets geography, and then starts invisibly identifying himself as, I don't identify myself in Kodesh, but I do in Chol. And Rahman al-Islam, we're forcing the kids out of our own system because we've taken on definitions that are not real. This is not me speaking. Well, okay, it's me speaking, but Rabbi Shimon Schwab of blessed memory told me himself that he was very upset that we use this term secular studies without realizing the word secular means without God. You can't take God out of history because he's mashkiach, he's supervising it. You can't take God out of science because it's his demonstration of his love to the Bria in everything that he's constantly giving us for us to be able to sustain life on planet Earth. So that's the integrated curriculum. Memory system is really based on the following. All our teachers who are extremely dedicated, investing on a 0 to 10 scale, how much effort to deliver information to our children? So I think you've got to say at least a 10. But here's the painful question. On a 0 to 10 scale, how much are we investing effort that the children will retain the information? So we've taken something which is mentioned in the Chazal, it's called simanim. And we've explained how to use simanim in order to have what you would call a trigger word that will now have an associated information to that trigger word. The information might be a parak in Chumash, it might be a Mishnah, it might be a pasuk, and it might be a daf in Gemara. It almost doesn't make a difference what it is, but the concept of memory being something that you and I have a good or not good memory is completely defunct when we recognize there is no such thing as a good or bad memory. I know it sounds crazy to say it, but really there's either trained memory or untrained memory, just like a muscle in your arm. If it's loose, weak, hey, guess what happens when you flex it again and again and again? Oh, it gets stronger. Memory muscles are something that with strategies, techniques, you can literally strengthen your memory. And that's what building block number 6 is all about. Number 7 is living tefillah. How do you make davening relevant to our children? How do you make it so that they love davening? They look forward to davening. So much of this is actually built on Lashon Torah, because if a child cannot recognize Suras Oisius, the exact difference between one letter and another, that's going to sabotage their reading and therefore davening too. If they can't read accurately or fluently, or both, Has v'Shalom, it's going to sabotage their career in davening. So we go through a number of the building blocks of Lashon Torah that precede and are prerequisites for tefillah, and then we go through the building blocks of tefillah itself, which after we've accomplished, what are the shorashim we need to know for davening? What we know, we've made sure that kids are reading accurately and fluently. Also now, what are the vocabulary words in tefillah that are most frequent that we should really drill? Like Baruch, and Ata, and Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, and Elokeinu, Malach, Ha'olam, Asher, which means happy. It's Pasuk in Vayikra, Pelek Alad, Pasuk Chaf Beis. Asher is a lashon of Ashrei. Asher Kiddishanu, Asher, he happily, Kiddishanu, made us unique, b'mitzvahs. We go through a number of different words that come up all the time in davening, and we provide a whole scaffolding of how to make this engaging for children. How the children will understand that the purpose of tefillah is to connect to Hashem, and how do I do that? So that's all explained in much detail. This is an overview of the overview. So check out the overview, and then if you're really into it, go to Living Tefillah on the website and check out the materials and the DVDs, all explained there. Number 8 is Halacha Yomi. We have an 8-year curriculum starting with 1st through 8th grade of learning 2 halachas every single day. It's based, actually, it's a Gemara in Megillah, I think Chav Ches, which itself is quoting Tana Debei Eliyahu. This is from Eliyahu Navi, who recommends that anybody who learns 2 halachas every day, muftach lay, he's guaranteed shehu ben olam haba. Oh, he's a candidate for eternity. Now that's a pretty good deal. 2 halachas every day. So we've provided 2 halachas that go through the entire Shulchan Aruch. Arba Chelkei Shulchan Aruch. And in addition to that, we've also provided a ta'am, several ta'amim, several reasons for those halachas based on the Rishonim. And in doing so, you're giving the child a ta'am, a taste for the reason. And the more you taste the reason, the more reason you want more of it. That's Rabbi Dessler who explains the word ta'am, meaning both reason and taste. The more you understand the reason behind something in the Torah, the better it tastes. The better something tastes, the more reason you want more of it. So Halacha Yomi is really about, how do I learn how to be a Jew? That's in the halacha part. Halacha is the same oisius hakala, because the kala is the Jewish people, and the kala yearns so deeply to please her spouse. We so deeply yearn to please HaKadosh Baruch Hu from our soul, that the idea of halacha, hakala, halacha actually is our greatest demonstration that we want to do what you ask us to do. And that shows our love. So Halacha Yomi, very powerful. We not only show through Halacha Yomi, just 2 halachas every day. Every Friday, we do Hilchos Shabbos and eventually Yom Tov based on the calendar of the school. Otherwise, the other 4 or 5 days of the week, we go through Shulchan Aruch, from Orach Chaim all the way to the end of Shulchan Aruch, Arba Chelkei Shulchan Aruch. And the last part, which, for the fact that we give a tam, in many cases 2 or 3 reasons for that halacha, it helps a child not only know how to be a from Jew, but it closes a gap that some of our children really have, which is, why am I doing what I'm doing? And many kids, high school, best medrash, and even into adulthood, who are asked, why do you do that? And not as a challenge, just out of curiosity. A non-from Jew or a non-Jew might ask them, why do you do that? And if they don't know why, it's a huge question on themselves. Yeah, why am I from? I know how to be from, but why? And that helps fill that in, as well as contextual learning. That's huge as well. But Halacha Yomi really does help close that gap. So that's a very powerful part of the curriculum. Number 9 is Midas. There are 16 DVDs on Midas, and it goes through all the Midas of D'Oraisa and D'Rabbanan that are listed, and it shows you that the Sadashav, the common denominator behind all Midas, is that every single Midah takes place over here. Arrogance starts in your mind. It's a thought. Kas, anger, starts with what I'm thinking. Jealousy starts with a thought. What I'm feeling is what I'm thinking. I'm always feeling my thinking. It's always that way round. And we go through this in tremendous detail with lots and lots of examples. And then after we've tried to help the teacher really get it, that how mitzvahs is really taking place in the mind, and that all the mitzvahs of the Torah, there's quite a lot of them, that refer to our midas, whether it's jealousy, whether it's kas, whether it's arrogance, whether it's humility, whether it's being a mavata, letting go, and lotito, not remembering other people's mistakes, not taking revenge, lotikain, havdarecha kamocha, loving other people. All the midas that you'll find in the mitzvahs of the Torah are all taking place over here. This is the starting point. So we then have 28 metaphors, one for every day, one for every week of the school year, to really to inject again and again with very amusing and funny and engaging metaphors, how to help children recognize that I am always resilient. I always can stand up for myself. I can always recognize that my anger, jealousy is really taking place over here. I'm not jealous of your good looks or your better marks. It's my thinking about your better marks, your better looks, your better house, your more money that's making me jealous. So it's when I recognize it's taking over here, we do this with lots and lots of metaphors. So that's in Midas, whole program there. And then finally got recess. This deserves a lot of attention. This is not the right place to mention it now, but recess is a building block, because ask yourselves honestly, where will you learn more about your student and your kid? When they're sitting behind a desk, silently, passively learning, or during recess, when they're real to themselves, and you see how they play, how they share, or don't, the ball in the game, how well they play in being a team player, or how selfish they are when they're playing, or how well they take a loss, or how gracious they are when they win. There's so much you're going to learn from children in recess. So we have a whole structure for that. And there's recess is also a platform for physical activity, which is taking care of your mind and your body and your emotions. And that is a leapfrog, if you want to call it, into the whole arena of health, nutrition, exercise, taking care of one's body. So those are the 10 building blocks. It's extremely comprehensive. The only things I missed out over here is that because you're learning Targum mitzvahs is the skeleton of Kol HaTorah Kula on the halachic side of the equation. That means to say, and this is the Rav Bartanur in Avos, Perek Aleph, Mishnah Aleph, check it out. Rav Bartanur, I think, is extremely qualified to tell you and I what Mishnah is really about. And he makes the claim that Avos is unusual. It's unique to all the other Masechtas, because all the other Masechtas are a perush to the mitzvahs. You see, when you know that Targum mitzvahs is actually the skeleton of Mishnayos. Mishnayos is what the Gemara is a perush to. Once you know that halacha are the legal conclusions of the Gemara's discussion of the meaning of the Mishnah, which itself is the beginning of the listing of the details of Tariag mitzvahs, when you teach Targum mitzvahs, you're preparing the kid for Mishnayos. So in this particular system, we encourage that the children learn Targum mitzvahs in the first 3 grades with lots of materials. We've got a picture for every single one of Targum mitzvahs. We even have a photo version as well for the older grades. And by teaching that first, then when they get to Mishnayos, we are able to say to the kids, instead of spending up to 50% or more of the class time explaining the background information in the Mishnah, which the kids if they don't have this information, they can't understand the Mishnah. Instead, we give the responsibility over to the children to learn, review the mitzvahs contained in that Mishnah. So we actually have a sefer, it's called Sefer Mitzvahs HaMishnah, which goes through every single Mishnah in Shisha Sidrei Mishnah with a listing of every single mitzvah in that Mishnah. So that the teacher following this system can actually say to the children, oh, please do review of these mitzvahs, and then we're going to learn the Mishnah together. So you're transferring the formula of teaching to learning. You're getting the kids to do more of the learning. So that's really huge. And we've got Pashup Pshat questions on the entire Chumash, a few tens of thousands. We've got about 4, 5, 6 questions on every pasuk of the entire Chumash. And it's all Pashup Pshat questions, no trick questions, and it's in very simple Hebrew. We've got Pashup Pshat questions on Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. On every single Mishnah, it's on 3 levels. There's Pashup Pshat, and there's answering Taich questions, and then there's also Pshat at an advanced level. And it's all in very simple Hebrew, because you want to get the kids away from vocabulary sheets. Stop filling in blanks and get them familiar and comfortable with text inside, so they become Yodea Sefer. They can independently learn the Torah and have the Sipuk HaNefesh, the soul's thirst, to be filled and satisfied with learning Torah, that they're doing this themselves. So all that is part of the Tariag mitzvahs. That's why you don't see Mishnah and Gemara as actual building blocks. They're not, because they depend on Tariag mitzvahs. So we do have a special, it's only a 1-hour presentation on Gemara, how to teach Gemara. It's in about 9 steps. It's deceptively simple. It's really based on the Stipler of blessed memory of how he responded to many Bachrim who are already in Bes Medrash complaining that they still don't understand how to learn on their own. And he went through step by step how to do that. And that's covered in the Gemara DVD. We have a Tefillah Be'iyun DVDs. And that pretty much covers everything I've got here except the first day back at school. There are 7 DVDs of how to get the kids into the protocol of understanding how the classroom is set up and what to expect during the year, and the behaviors, the disciplines, how to line up for recess, how to line up for the end of school, etc. So that's all on the 7 DVDs of the first day back to school. It also covers teaching responsibility to our children by giving them lots of different jobs in the classroom. So you have one who's a sofer, the one who's going to be a scribe for a week or 2. Another one will be the administrator, responsible for messages going from the office to the classroom. You might have a child who's actually responsible for picking up the phone, and they're taught how to answer a phone politely and direct the call to the destination of the caller. So these are very simple ways to have children build themselves inside out. And in the schus of us learning how to reach children in ways that helps them become independent learners, we should all be zeicher to see tremendous nachas from all our children and kinderlach, grandchildren, ad bias Hamashiach, b'mheira v'meinu, amen. Thank you.